Commander Giwan stared at the display screen in front of her. The numbers did not make sense. Her patrol ship was flying near the edge of human space when her sensors picked up something strange. Energy readings were coming from an area that should have been empty. Daeyun, and check those readings again, she said to her sensor officer. Lieutenant Daeyun ran his fingers across the control panel. His face grew serious as he looked at the data. Commander, I am reading massive energy signatures from Grid Section 7. But according to our maps, that area was cleared 15 years ago after the peace accord. Giwan felt her stomach tighten. Grid Section 7 was where the Valerian Empire used to have their largest military station. The peace treaty signed 15 years ago said all military installations in that area would be destroyed. The whole galaxy had celebrated when both sides agreed to end the war. Are you sure the sensors are working correctly? Giwan asked. Yes, Commander. I have run 3 checks. The energy patterns match Valerian battle station signatures, but that is impossible. They destroyed those stations as part of the peace agreement. Giwan looked out at the stars through the front window. 15 years ago, she had been just a young officer when the Great War ended. Everyone said it was a miracle. Humans and Valerians had fought for decades. Millions had died on both sides. Then suddenly, the Valerian Empire agreed to peace talks. She remembered watching the signing ceremony on every screen across human space. The Valerian ambassador had stood next to the human leaders, smiling and promising eternal friendship. The crowds had cheered. Children had thrown flowers. It was supposed to be the beginning of a new age. Commander Daeyun said quietly, "What should we do?" Giwan knew she had to make a choice. She could file a standard report and let someone else worry about it. Or she could investigate herself. But investigating meant getting closer to what might be an active Valerian military base. That could start another war. Plot a course for the outer edge of Grid Section 7, she ordered. Keep us at maximum sensor range. I want to know what is really out there. Her crew worked quietly as they changed direction. Giwan watched the sensor displays as they got closer. The energy signatures grew stronger. Whatever was out there was big, and it was definitely Valerian. Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral Heinwu sat in his office reading classified reports. The morning sun came through his window, but he did not notice it. The papers in front of him contained information that would shock the galaxy if anyone else saw them. The reports came from human agents scattered across Valerian space. For 15 years, these brave men and women had lived among the aliens, pretending to be traitors and diplomats. They sent back information through secret channels that the Valerians could never detect. What they reported was disturbing. The Valerians had never actually destroyed their military bases. Instead, they had hidden them better. They used advanced technology to make the bases invisible to most sensors. They continued building weapons and training soldiers while telling the galaxy they wanted peace. Admiral Heinwu picked up his secure communication device and contacted Director Minji. She was the head of human intelligence, one of the most secret organizations in human space, Mingi. I just finished reading the latest reports from our people in Valerian territory, he said. I know what you are going to say, Heinwu. The weapons production has increased by 30% in the last 6 months. They are not even trying to hide it anymore. Do you think they are planning something? Director Mingi was quiet for a moment. She sat in her underground office, surrounded by screens showing information from across the galaxy. Her people had been watching and waiting for 15 years. They never stopped planning, she said finally. The question is when they will act. What about the humans who believe in the peace? Most people think the war is over forever. Let them believe it for now. When the time comes, they will understand. We have been preparing for this day since the accord was signed. Admiral Heinwu knew she was right. While most humans celebrated peace and built normal lives, a small group of leaders had never stopped watching. They remembered that the Valerians had started the war with a surprise attack. They knew that the aliens were masters of deception. Have you heard from our people in the Outer Rim? He asked. Commander Giwan is investigating energy readings near Grid Section 7. Her report should come in soon. Back on her patrol ship. Commander Jiwan was getting the answers she did not want. The sensors now clearly showed a massive Valerian battle station hiding behind advanced cloaking technology. It was bigger than anything they had built during the war. Daeyun, how many ships can a station that size hold? The young officer calculated quickly. At least 500 battle cruisers, Commander, maybe more. Jiwan felt cold. 500 battle cruisers could destroy entire solar systems. This was not a defensive installation. This was a weapon built for conquest. Commander, we are receiving a transmission, her communications officer reported. From who? It is coded with Admiral Hyenwoo's personal signature. It says to return to base immediately and report through secure channels only. Jiwan understood. This discovery was too important and too dangerous for normal communication. She ordered her crew to set course for home, but she knew their lives had just changed forever as her ship jumped to faster than light speed. She thought about the peace celebrations she had attended over the years. The parades, the speeches about friendship between species, the children who grew up thinking the war was just history. They all believed that goodwill and diplomacy had ended the conflict. But Commander Jiwan now knew the truth. The war had never ended. The Valerians had just convinced everyone to stop fighting while they prepared for victory. They thought humans were naive and trusting. They thought the peace accord had made humanity weak and unprepared. They were about to learn how wrong they could be. The false dawn of peace was ending. The real test of humanity was about to begin. 15 years earlier, when the peace talks were just beginning, 3 human leaders sat in a secret room deep beneath the Earth's surface. The room had no windows and no connection to the outside world. General Taehoon, scientist Su Yang, and diplomat Jinwoo knew they were about to make decisions that would affect all of humanity. The Valerians want to sign a peace treaty, diplomat Jinwoo said, placing a data pad on the metal table between them. They claim they are tired of war and want to live in harmony with us. General Taehoon laughed. But there was no humor in his voice. The same aliens who attacked our colonies without warning? The same ones who refused every peace offer we made during the first 10 years of war? Now they suddenly want peace? Scientist Su Yang adjusted her glasses and looked at the intelligence reports. Their timing is suspicious. Our latest battles have been going well for humanity. We have been pushing them back on 3 fronts. Why would they ask for peace when they are losing? Because they have a plan, General Taehoon said firmly. The Valerians never do anything without a long-term strategy. If they want peace, it is because peace serves their goals better than war right now. Diplomat Jinwoo nodded slowly. He had spent years studying Valerian culture and psychology. They are buying time. But for what? The 3 leaders looked at each other in silence. They all knew the answer, even if they did not want to say it out loud. The Valerians were planning something bigger than anyone could imagine. So what do we do? Scientist Su Yang asked. If we refuse the peace talks, we look like warmongers. The people are tired of fighting. They want the killing to stop. We signed the treaty, General Taehoon said. But we also start Project Nightfall. What is Project Nightfall? Jinwoo asked. General Taehoon stood up and walked to the wall display. A map of human space appeared, showing all the colonies and military bases. Project Nightfall is our insurance policy. We prepare for the day when the Valerians show their true intentions. We build weapons they do not know about. We train soldiers in secret. We create plans they cannot predict. Scientist Su Yang understood immediately. We let them think they fooled us, while we prepare for what is really coming. In the present day, Captain Dong Yun guided his merchant ship through the busy trade routes between human and Valerian space. To anyone watching, he was just another trader carrying goods between the 2 civilizations. His ship looked old and slow, exactly the kind of vessel that would not attract attention. But Captain Dong Yun was not really a merchant. He was one of hundreds of intelligence officers who had been operating undercover for 15 years. His job was to watch and report on Valerian activities in areas where military ships could not go. Today, his sensors detected something interesting. A convoy of Valerian cargo ships was moving through a route that was supposed to be used only for food and medical supplies. But these ships were heavily armored and escorted by military vessels. Hansel, scan those ships, he said to his communications officer, who was also an intelligence agent. Lieutenant Hansel worked quietly at his station. After several minutes, he looked up with concern. Captain, those cargo ships are carrying military equipment. Advanced weapons, armor plating, and what looks like construction materials for space stations. How much equipment? Enough to build a major military base. But according to the peace treaty, they cannot build new military installations. Captain Dong Yun made a note in his secret log. This was the 15th convoy he had observed in the past month. All of them carried military supplies disguised as humanitarian aid. The Valerians were building something big, and they were trying to hide it. He activated his hidden communication. Systemin sent a coded message to Earth. The message would travel through a network of secret relay stations that the Valerians could never detect. Within hours, his report would reach the people who needed to see it. On Earth, Engineer Yuna worked in an underground facility that officially did not exist. The facility was built inside an old mine hundreds of meters below the surface. No satellites could see it. No enemy agents could find it. Yuna and her team had been working for years on reverse engineering Valerian technology. Every piece of alien equipment that humans had captured during the war was brought here to be studied and improved. Have you finished the analysis on their new shield generators? Asked Dr. Kungjae, her research partner. Yuna held up a small device that looked like a crystal. This is how their shields work. The energy flows through these crystal matrices in a very specific pattern. But I found something interesting. What did you find? They have a weakness. If you hit the shields with the right frequency at exactly the right time, the whole system fails. Not just weakens, but completely fails. Dr. Kunjae smiled. This was exactly the kind of information they needed. Can we build weapons that exploit this weakness? Already working on it. But we need to be careful. If we test the weapons too much, Valerians might detect the energy signatures and realize we know about their weakness. How long until the weapons are ready? 6 months, maybe less if we work faster. Meanwhile, Colonel Wanbin was having a meeting with his fleet commanders. They were gathered in a secure conference room on the military base where humanity trained its most elite officers. To anyone watching, this looked like a routine training discussion. Gentlemen, we're going to conduct a series of military exercises over the next few months, Colonel Wanbin announced. These exercises will help our crews stay sharp and test new tactics. Admiral Sangwoo raised his hand. Sir, what kind of exercises are we talking about? Fleet movements, formation flying, and combat drills. Nothing that would violate the peace treaty, of course. The officers nodded, but they understood the real message. These were not just exercises. They were practice sessions for a real battle that might come sooner than anyone expected. Colonel, Wanbin brought up a star map on the main display. We will be moving ships to positions throughout human space. The movements will look random, but each ship will end up exactly where we need it to be. Need it to be for what, sir? Asked Captain Sung-hoon. For the day when the peace ends and the real war begins. The officers looked at each other with understanding. They had all suspected this day would come. The Valerians were too proud and too aggressive to accept permanent peace with humans. The peace treaty was just a pause before a much bigger conflict. Sir Admiral Sangwoo said quietly. Do we know when that day might come? Colonel Wanbin turned off the star map and looked at his officers. Intelligence suggests we have less than a year. Maybe much less. The Valerians are moving fast now. They think we are not paying attention. What do they not know about us? Captain Sung-hoon asked. Colonel Wanbin smiled grimly. They do not know that we have been watching them every single day for 15 years. They do not know that we never believed their peace treaty for even one moment. And they definitely do not know what we have been building while they thought we were sleeping. The meeting ended. With each officer receiving sealed orders, they would return to their ships and begin moving to positions across human space. To the Valerians watching, it would look like routine military activity. But in reality, humanity was quietly preparing for the greatest battle in the history of both species. The long game was almost over. Agent Kyung-ho adjusted his fake Valerian identity badge as he walked through the corridors of the diplomatic station. For 3 years, he had worked as a translator. For the Valerian embassy on Nexus Prime, everyone believed he was just another human who had learned the alien language to make a living. But Kyung-ho was actually one of humanity's best intelligence agents. He had undergone surgical changes to make his eyes look more like Valerian eyes. He had learned to speak their language without any human accent. Most importantly, he had learned to think like they did. Today was different from all the other days. Today, he had been invited to attend a special meeting that was supposed to be only for high-ranking Valerian officials. His cover identity as a trusted translator had finally gained him access to their most secret discussions. The meeting room was filled with military commanders and government leaders from across the Valerian Empire. Agent Kyung-ho sat quietly in the corner, tending to prepare his translation equipment while actually recording everything. Commander Vextar, the highest-ranking military officer present, stood at the front of the room. He activated a holographic display that showed the entire galaxy with human and Valerian territories marked in different colors. "Fellow commanders," Vextar began, "the time for pretending is almost over. Our long preparation is nearly complete." Agent Kyung-ho felt his heart rate increase, but he kept his face calm and professional. This was the moment he had been waiting for. Operation Final Dawn will begin in exactly 6 months. The commander continued. "We will strike all major human worlds simultaneously. Their military will be destroyed before they can organize any defense." The holographic display changed to show detailed attack plans. Kyung-ho memorized every detail while pretending to adjust his translation device. The scale of the planned attack was enormous. The Valerians intended to hit every important human colony, military base, and industrial center at the same time. "What about their space fleet?" asked another officer. "Our intelligence shows that human military capability has decreased significantly during the peace years. They have focused on trade and exploration instead of warfare. Their ships are outdated and their crews are soft from years of easy living." Several Valerian officers laughed at this comment. They truly believed that 15 years of peace had made humanity weak and unprepared. "The humans still believe we are their friends," Commander Vextar said with amusement. "They invite our diplomats to their worlds. They share their technology with us. They have no idea what is coming." Agent Kyung-ho continued recording while his mind raced. He had to get this information to Earth immediately, but he also had to be careful not to blow his cover. If the Valerians discovered he was a spy, it might change their plans or move up their timeline. The meeting continued for 2 more hours. The Valerians discussed every detail of their attack plan. They talked about which human leaders to capture alive and which cities to destroy completely. They planned to end human civilization in a single devastating strike. When the meeting finally ended, Agent Kyung-ho calmly packed his equipment and left with the other attendees. He walked slowly to his quarters, fighting the urge to run. Once inside his room, he activated his secret communication system. The message he sent to Earth was short, but contained the most important information in human history. Final Dawn begins in 6 months. Total war. All major targets. They think we are weak and unprepared. On Earth, Dr. Yoonji worked late in her laboratory, putting the finishing touches on humanity's most important technological achievement. The quantum communication network she had designed would allow instant communication across vast distances, without any possibility of interception. Jong-ho. Test the connection to Alpha Centauri again. She called to her assistant. Dr. Jong-ho worked at his console for several minutes. Connection is perfect, Dr. Yoonji. No delay, no signal loss, completely undetectable by Valerian technology. Good. Now test the emergency broadcast capability. We need to know that we can send the same message to all human colonies simultaneously. The quantum communication network was based on principles that the Valerians did not understand. While they relied on traditional faster-than-light communication that could be detected and intercepted, humanity had developed something far superior. Dr. Yoonji's system could send messages instantly to any point in the galaxy. More importantly, the messages appeared to be random quantum fluctuations to anyone trying to intercept them. Only humans with the proper decoding equipment could read the real information. Dr. Yunji, Dr. Shengho said excitedly, "We just received a priority message through the network." She read the message from Agent Kung Ho and felt her blood turn cold. 6 months. They had 6 months before the Valerians launched their surprise attack. But at least now, they knew exactly when it would happen. Send this information to Admiral Hunwu immediately, she ordered. Use the highest priority encryption. Meanwhile, Colonel Wanbin was conducting what appeared to be routine military exercises. In the Outer Rim, his fleet consisted of 12 ships that were supposedly practicing formation, flying and navigation drills, but Colonel Wanbin was actually positioning his forces for something much more important. Each of his ships was moving to a specific location that would be crucial when the real fighting began, Colonel, his communications officer reported. We have received new orders through the quantum network. Colonel Wanbin read the message and immediately understood its significance. The Valerian attack was coming in 6 months. All the preparation, all the secret planning, all the years of pretending to be peaceful were about to be put to the test. Change course for the Kepler system, he ordered, and send a coded message to all fleet commanders. Exercise Silver Dawn is now in effect. Exercise Silver Dawn was the code name for humanity's defensive positioning. Every human military unit had been given specific coordinates where they should be when the Valerian attack began. The movements would look like random patrol activities to enemy observers. Colonel Lasal Wanben looked out at the stars and thought about the 6 months ahead. The Valerians believed they were about to surprise a weak and unprepared enemy. They had no idea that humanity had been preparing for this exact scenario for 15 years. His ships moved through space at maximum speed, racing to reach their assigned positions. Across human space, hundreds of other ships were doing the same thing. The greatest military repositioning in human history was beginning, and the enemy had no idea it was happening. The shadows were moving. The signals had been sent. In 6 months, the galaxy would discover which species had truly been playing the long game. Commander Sunho stood on the bridge of his evacuation transport, watching another group of civilian families board his ship. To everyone involved, this looked like a voluntary relocation program, offering better jobs and living conditions on inner worlds. But Commander Sunho knew the real reason for these evacuations. The families he was moving came from colonies that would be direct targets when the Valerian attack began. In 4 months, their homes would become battlefields. "How many more transports are we expecting?" asked his first officer, Lieutenant Nari. 15 more ships will arrive this week, Sunho replied. "We need to evacuate 12,000 people from this colony before the end of the month." The evacuation program is one of the most challenging parts of humanity's preparation. They had to move millions of people away from dangerous areas without causing panic or alerting the Valerians to what was happening. The cover story was perfect. Human corporations announced new industrial projects on safer worlds, offering high-paying jobs to anyone willing to relocate. The government provided free transportation and housing assistance. Most people were happy to take advantage of what seemed like an excellent opportunity. "Commander," Lieutenant Nari said quietly, "the colony administrator is asking questions about why we are evacuating so many technical specialists. He thinks it is strange that we want all the engineers and scientists to leave." Commander Sunho had expected this problem. "Tell him that the new industrial projects require highly skilled workers. Make it sound like these people are being offered management positions. They cannot refuse." The truth was that engineers and scientists were the most valuable people to save. They would be needed to rebuild after the war and to continue developing new technologies. Losing them would set humanity back for decades. Commander Sunho watched families saying goodbye to neighbors who had chosen to stay behind. Some people refused to leave their homes no matter what incentives were offered. These decisions broke his heart, but he understood. Not everyone could abandon the places they loved, even to save their lives. His communication system chimed with an encrypted message from Fleet Command. The message was short, Timeline accelerated. Complete current evacuations within 2 weeks. Commander Sunho felt his stomach tighten. If the timeline was being accelerated, it meant intelligence had learned something new about Valerian plans. The attack might come sooner than expected. Lieutenant Nari, double our transport schedule. We work around the clock until this colony is clear. Yes, sir? Should I tell the evacuees that we are in a hurry? No, keep the cover story. But make sure everyone understands that this is their last chance to leave. On the other side of the galaxy, Lieutenant Hannah crouched in the darkness of an abandoned building on the Valerian-controlled world of Zarian Prime. She had been living undercover on this planet for 2 years, posing as a human refugee who had fled the war zones, but Lieutenant Hannah was actually coordinating a resistance network of humans who had volunteered to stay behind enemy lines. These brave men and women knew they might never see Earth again. Their job was to gather intelligence and prepare for sabotage operations. When the war resumed, did everyone receive the new communication equipment? She whispered to Junseo, her second-in-command. Yes, Lieutenant. All cell leaders now have quantum communicators. We can coordinate our activities without the Valerians detecting our signals. Good. What about the weapons caches? We have successfully hidden supplies in 15 locations across the planet. Each cache contains enough equipment for 50 people to conduct guerrilla operations for 6 months. Lieutenant Hannah looked at her tactical display. Red dots marked the locations of Valerian military installations on this world. Blue dots showed where her resistance cells were positioned. When the war began, her people would attack all the red dots simultaneously. The latest intelligence suggests this Valerian attack will begin in less than 4 months, she told Junseo. We need to finalize our target assignments. Lieutenant, what about the human civilians living on this world? There are thousands of them in the cities. This was the hardest part of her mission. There were many humans living peacefully on Valerian worlds, believing the peace would last forever. When the fighting started, these innocent people would be trapped in enemy territory. We do what we can to protect them, Lieutenant Hannah said, but our primary mission is to disrupt Valerian military operations. The resistance cells near the civilian areas will focus on evacuation and protection. The cells near military targets will focus on destruction. Junseo nodded grimly. They both knew that many good people would die when the war resumed. The Valerians would not distinguish between human civilians and human soldiers. Lieutenant, another resistance member whispered from the doorway. We have a problem. Valerian security forces are conducting increased patrols in the industrial district. They might be looking for us. Have they found any of our weapon caches? Not yet, but they are getting close to Cache 7. Lieutenant Hannah made a quick decision. Move everything from Cache 7 tonight. Split the supplies between Cache 4 and Cache 9 and tell all our people in that area to go. It's into deep cover for the next week. On Earth. Ambassador Minho sat across from Valerian diplomat Zethkar in one of the most luxurious meeting rooms in the galaxy. They were discussing cultural exchange programs and trade agreements, smiling and shaking hands like old friends, but Ambassador Minho was actually one of the most important intelligence gatherers in human space. Every meeting with Valerian officials was an opportunity to learn about their true intentions and military capabilities. I am so pleased that our peoples continue to grow closer together. Diplomat Zethkar said with what appeared to be genuine warmth. The peace between us has brought prosperity to both civilizations. Indeed. Ambassador Minho replied with an equally false smile. I hope our friendship will last for many generations to come. While they talked about peaceful cooperation, Ambassador Minho was carefully observing everything. He noticed that Zethkar seemed more nervous than usual. The Valerian diplomat kept checking his personal communication device and glancing at the time display. Is everything all right? Ambassador Minho asked with fake concern. You seem distracted today. Oh, it is nothing important. Just some routine administrative matters that require my attention. But Ambassador Minho knew it was not routine administration. His hidden recording equipment was picking up electromagnetic signals from Zethkar's communication device. The signals indicated heavy military encryption, not civilian messages. The meeting continued for another hour. with both diplomats pretending to discuss peaceful cooperation while actually gathering intelligence about each other. Ambassador Minho learned that the Valerians were becoming increasingly confident about something big that was coming soon. When the meeting finally ended, Ambassador Minho returned to his secure office and immediately sent a coded report to Earth. The report included detailed analysis of Valerian behavior patterns, communication intercepts, and psychological assessments of their leadership. His conclusion was disturbing. The Valerians were becoming bolder and less careful about hiding their true intentions. This suggested that they believed their surprise attack was so close that secrecy no longer mattered. Ambassador Minho looked at his calendar and counted the days. Less than 4 months remained before humanity would face its greatest test. The reckoning was approaching fast. Both sides were making their final preparations. The question was no longer whether the war would resume. The question was whether humanity's 15 years of secret preparation would be enough to survive what was coming. The day humanity had prepared for during 15 years of false peace finally arrived. Admiral Guiong stood on the bridge of the battleship Seoul, watching her tactical displays as Valerian attack fleets appeared throughout human space. The enemy came exactly as Agent Cunho had reported. Massive fleets materialized near every major human world simultaneously. The Valerians had planned their surprise attack perfectly, or so they believed. Admiral, her tactical officer, reported, "Enemy fleets have appeared at Earth. Alpha Centauri, Kepler Station, and 17 other systems. They are demanding immediate surrender." "What is the status of our evacuation programs?" Admiral Gayon asked calmly. "Complete, Admiral. All civilian populations have been moved to safe locations. The colonies they are attacking are empty except for our military forces." Admiral Gaong smiled grimly. The first part of humanity's defense plan was working perfectly. The Valerians were attacking empty cities and deserted industrial centers. Wasting their firepower on targets that no longer mattered, send the activation signal to all fleet commanders. Operation Dawn's End begins now across human space. Hundreds of human ships that had been hiding in asteroid fields and gas clouds suddenly activated their engines. The vessels that the Valerians thought were scattered patrol units revealed themselves to be carefully positioned battle fleets. Commander Vextar, the Valerian military leader who had planned the attack, watched in confusion as his easy victory began to fall apart. His forces had expected to find surprised and defenseless human colonies. Instead, they found empty worlds and waiting trap fleets. How did they know? He demanded of his intelligence officers. Our planning was perfect. Our security was absolute. How could the humans have evacuated their colonies? "Sir," his communications officer reported with panic in his voice. "We are receiving combat reports from all attack fleets. The humans were ready for us. They have ships positioned exactly where they need to be to counter our assault. Commander." Vextar felt cold fear creeping into his mind. This was impossible. Human intelligence could not have been good enough to predict their exact attack plan, unless... double quotes, "sir. We are also receiving reports of equipment failures throughout our fleets. Weapon systems are malfunctioning, shields are collapsing, navigation computers are giving incorrect readings." The horrible truth began to dawn on Commander Vextar. The humans had not just known about the attack, they had been sabotaging Valerian equipment for years. On Earth, Engineer Jisoo activated the systems she had spent 15 years developing. Every piece of technology that humanity had traded to the Valerians during the peace years contained hidden backdoors and weaknesses. "Activate."
Ow.
All embedded systems, she ordered her team. Shut down their shields, disable their weapons, and scramble their communications. Throughout the Valerian attack fleets, critical systems began failing at exactly the wrong moments. Weapons that had worked perfectly during training suddenly stopped firing. Shield generators overloaded and exploded. Communication networks became filled with static and false information. The Valerians had thought they were receiving superior technology through trade agreements. Instead, they had been accepting sophisticated sabotage devices that were designed to activate when humanity needed them most. Engineer Jisoo, her assistant, called out excitedly. The sabotage systems are working better than expected. Enemy fleet effectiveness has decreased by 60%. Good. Now activate the second phase. I want their ships to start targeting each other. This was the most devious part of the sabotage program. The corrupted navigation and targeting systems would make Valerian ships identify other Valerian ships as enemy targets. The aliens would begin shooting at their own forces. Captain Chanwoo commanded one of the merchant vessels that had been gathering intelligence throughout the peace years. But when the fighting began, his ship transformed into something completely different. Drop the false hull plating, he ordered. Activate all weapon systems. What had appeared to be a slow, harmless cargo ship suddenly revealed itself as an advanced battlecruiser. Hidden compartments opened to show missile launchers and energy cannons. The ship's engines switched from civilian power to military-grade drives that could outrun anything in the Valerian fleet. Captain, his weapons officer, reported. All systems are active. We are ready for combat. Target the enemy command ship and fire at will. Captain. Chanwoo's vessel was one of hundreds of disguised warships that had been operating under false identities. The Valerians had been allowing human military forces to move freely through their territory for years, never suspecting that merchant, captains, and cultural ambassadors were actually preparing for war. The fake merchant fleet revealed itself throughout Valerian space and began attacking military installations from within. The aliens found themselves fighting enemies that had been hiding among them for over a decade. Commander. Vexstar watched his perfect attack plan crumble into chaos. His fleets were being defeated by human forces that should not have existed. His equipment was failing because of sabotage he never suspected. His intelligence had been completely wrong about human preparedness. Sir, his tactical officer reported desperately. We are receiving surrender demands from the human fleet. Surrender demands? From them? Yes, sir. Admiral, Gaeong of the human fleet is offering to accept our surrender if we stop fighting immediately. Commander Vexstar stared at his tactical display in disbelief. 3 hours ago, he had been confident of easy victory over a weak and unprepared enemy. Now his forces were being destroyed by humans who had been ready for this exact battle. Sir, what are your orders? Commander Vexstar looked at the reports flooding in from across the battlefield. Half of his ships were disabled. The other half were fighting both human forces and their own corrupted vessels. The surprise attack that was supposed to end human civilization had become a disaster for the Valerian Empire. Signal all fleets to withdraw, he ordered, with defeat in his voice, sir. Admiral Gaeon is requesting a communication. Link with you personally, Commander. Vexstar accepted the communication request and found himself looking at a human admiral who showed no mercy in her eyes. Commander Vexstar. Admiral Gaeong said calmly, I believe you wanted to deliver a surrender demand to humanity. I am afraid I have one for you instead. The truth was finally unveiled. Humanity had never been fooled by the peace accord. They had known about the planned betrayal from the very beginning and had spent 15 years preparing for this exact moment. The hunters had become the hunted. General Seokshin stood in the command center deep beneath Earth's surface, surrounded by displays showing the complete collapse of the Valerian attack. 15 years of careful planning had led to this moment of revelation. Sir, his intelligence officer reported, enemy fleets are in full retreat across all sectors. Their casualties are approaching 80%, and our losses minimal, sir. The evacuation program saved millions of civilian lives, and our military losses are less than 5%. General Seoji nodded with satisfaction. The plan had worked even better than they had dared to hope. But the hardest part was still ahead. Now humanity had to decide what to do with their victory. Open a secure channel to all human fleet commanders, he ordered. It is time to deliver our final message to the Valerian Empire. Fleet Admiral Youngmi received the communication order while her ships pursued the retreating Valerian forces. Her fleet had been designed and built in secret during the peace years, using technology that far exceeded anything the aliens possessed. Admiral, her science officer, called out. The enemy is trying to use their escape pods to evacuate damaged ships. Let them go, Admiral Youngmi ordered. We are not here to commit genocide. We are here to end their ability to threaten humanity. This was the crucial difference between human and Valerian thinking. The aliens had planned to destroy human civilization completely. But humanity's goal was to stop the threat, not to annihilate their enemies. Admiral, we are receiving a priority communication. From General Seok-shin put him through on the main display. General. Seok-shin's image appeared on the bridge screens of every human military vessel throughout the galaxy. His message would also be broadcast to the retreating Valerian fleets and to their home worlds. Citizens of Earth and the human colonies, General Seok-shin began. Today marks the end of the false peace and the beginning of true security for our civilization on Valerian worlds across their empire. The alien leadership watched in stunned silence as the human general delivered his speech. They had expected to be dictating surrender terms to defeated humans. Instead, they were learning how completely they had been outmaneuvered. For 15 years, General Seok-shin continued, the Valerian Empire believed they had fooled humanity with their peace treaty. They thought we were naive creatures who actually believed in their promises of friendship. Commander Vextar, now a prisoner on his own damaged flagship, listened to the human general with growing amazement. Everything he had believed about human intelligence and military capability had been completely wrong. The truth is that we never believed them for a single moment, General Seok-shin said with quiet authority. From the day the peace accord was signed, we knew it was a deception. We knew they were planning to betray us, and we spent every day of the last 15 years preparing for this exact scenario. The human general gestured to displays showing the scope of humanity's preparation. Secret military bases, hidden research facilities, disguised warships, and intelligence networks that spanned the galaxy. While the Valerians thought we were becoming weak and complacent, we were actually becoming stronger and more prepared than ever before in human history. Every trade agreement, every cultural exchange, every act of apparent friendship was part of our intelligence gathering. Operation Commander Ji-hoon appeared on the communication display next to General Seok-shin. As the director of human intelligence operations, he had coordinated the greatest deception in galactic history. Commander Vextar, Commander Ji-hoon said, looking directly at the Valerian leader, you asked your officers how we knew about your attack plans. The answer is simple. We have been watching you every day for 15 years. Every Valerian military installation, every government meeting, every strategic decision you made was observed and recorded by our agents. You thought you were conducting secret planning sessions? In reality, you were showing us exactly what you intended to do. The scope of human intelligence penetration was staggering. Agent Kyung-ho had been just one of thousands of operatives working throughout Valerian space. The aliens had never suspected that their most trusted translators, traders, and cultural advisors were actually human intelligence officers. But knowledge alone would not have been enough. General Sujin resumed his speech. We also needed to be prepared to stop you. Every piece of technology we traded to you contained hidden weaknesses. Every cultural exchange allowed us to place sabotage devices in your most secure facilities. Engineer Jisoo appeared on the display to explain the technical aspects of humanity's preparation. Your ships failed today because we designed them to fail. Your weapons stopped working because we built shutdown commands into their control systems. Your own technology turned against you because we wanted it to. The psychological impact on the Valerian leadership was devastating. They had prided themselves on their superior technology and strategic thinking. Learning that humans had been manipulating their technology for over a decade destroyed their confidence completely. The question now, General Seok-shin said, is what happens next. Humanity has proven that we can defend ourselves against any threat. But we are not interested in conquest or revenge. This statement surprised both human and Valerian listeners. Many people expected humanity to press their advantage and invade Valerian space. We offer the Valerian Empire a choice, the general continued. You can accept genuine peace terms that will prevent future conflicts, or you can continue to threaten humanity and face the consequences. Commander Ji-hoon stepped forward again. The peace terms are simple. Complete disarmament of all Valerian military forces. International supervision of your government and military activities. And reparations for the damage caused by your attack. If you refuse these terms, General Siogin added, humanity will ensure that the Valerian Empire never again has the ability to threaten any other civilization. The threat was clear but not genocidal. Humanity would destroy Valerian military capability completely, but they would not harm civilian populations or destroy their culture. Commander Vextar looked at his tactical displays one final time. His empire's military forces were scattered and broken. Their technology had been compromised by human sabotage. Their intelligence networks had been penetrated completely. What guarantee do we have that humans will honor these peace terms? He asked. Admiral Youngmi answered this question from her flagship. The same guarantee you gave us 15 years ago. The difference is that our word actually means something. The brutal honesty of this statement hit harder than any weapon could have. The Valerians had proven that their promises could not be trusted. Humanity had proven that their strength could not be challenged. You thought the peace accord fooled us, Commander Ji-hoon said in his final statement. You thought friendship made us weak? You thought we did not know what you were planning. You were wrong about everything. This is what happens when you underestimate humanity's capacity for both hope and preparation. We hoped for genuine peace, but we prepared for inevitable betrayal. Today, you learned which one we were better at. The communication ended, leaving the Valerian Empire to contemplate their complete defeat. They had planned the perfect surprise attack and instead had walked into the perfect trap. Humanity had given their final answer to alien aggression. Any species that threatened human civilization would face opponents who were always watching, always preparing, and always ready to defend their people. The age of human vulnerability was over. The age of human strength had begun.